Hello everyone. 1 Corinthians 15:47. This is from the well-known passage by Paul where he explains what the resurrection body is like. And out of that passage, there's a verse which some Trinitarians, try to use to claim Jesus of Nazareth pre-existed and came down from heaven. So let's have a look at that. The first man is of the earth, earthy. The second man is the Lord from heaven. 1 Corinthians 15:47, and that's from the King James Version. And so the Trinitarian, or some Trinitarians, will try to use this verse to prove that Jesus came down from heaven into the womb of Mary, etc., etc. It's very unfortunate that anyone has to even respond to this claim, because this is just a matter of basic reading comprehension. The first thing is the word Lord there. It's a manuscript variant, and you won't find it in modern translations. For intents and purposes here today, it doesn't make a difference anyway. I just wanted to point that out because the King James will read different than at least most modern translations. It'll read something more like this. The first man is out of the earth, earthy. The second man is out of heaven. Okay? And so the verse that's honed in on, and Trinitarians usually like to quote the KJV, cherry-pick the KJV translation for this one. The second man is out of heaven. This verse is referring to the resurrected Jesus, in contrast to the first man, Adam. It's not referring to a pre-incarnate Jesus coming down out of heaven and incarnating as a human. It has nothing to do with Jesus of Nazareth's origins before he was born in Bethlehem. It's about the resurrected Christ. That's what Paul is talking about. Let's just read the context here. Wild idea. Look at the context. It is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. See how he's contrasting our current earthly bodies with our future resurrection body. It is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. If there is a natural body, there is also a spiritual body. So also it is written, the first man, Adam, became a living soul. The last Adam, life-giving spirit. See how he's contrasting the nature of the first humanity versus the nature of risen and resurrected humanity. And he's using Jesus as an example here. However, the spiritual is not first, but the natural, then the spiritual. The first man is out of the earth, earthly. The second man out of heaven. As is the earthly, so also are those who are earthly. And as is the heavenly, so also those who are heavenly. Just as we have borne the image of the earthy, we will also bear the image of the heavenly. Earthy or earthly, doesn't matter. You'll get the point either way. So let's just break this down, the contrast down, and you'll see this clearly. The old man, the old humanity from Adam on the left, the new humanity, and the first one is the risen Jesus, the resurrected Christ on the right. The new humanity versus the old humanity. It is sown a natural body. The old humanity is raised a spiritual body. The new humanity, resurrected. If there's a natural body, there is a spiritual body. The first man, Adam, became a living soul. In contrast, the last Adam, life-giving spirit. The spiritual is not first, but the natural. So Adam was first, the first kind of humanity. The risen Christ was second. The spiritual is not first. The risen Christ is the second kind of humanity. Spiritual is not first, but the natural, then the spiritual. The first man is out of the earth, earthly, Adam. The second man is out of heaven, the resurrected Christ. The new humanity, new creation. As is the earthly, so also are those who are earthly. As is the heavenly, so also those who are heavenly. You see how he's saying the same thing there again? The resurrected humanity is a heavenly humanity, in contrast to the humanity we have now, which is an earthly humanity. Just as we have borne the image of the earthy or earthly, we will also bear the image of the heavenly. And as Paul says in Romans 8, we're conformed to the image of his Son. That's what's going to happen. And Paul is also talking about this at 2 Corinthians 3:17 and following. The first man is out of the earth, earthly. Okay, that's the humanity that is mortal. Our mortal humanity that we were born into. The second man is out of heaven. Immortal, resurrected humanity. Paul is comparing the difference between the old humanity of the old creation and the new resurrected humanity of the new creation. And he uses the difference between Adam and the resurrected Jesus as examples. The resurrected Jesus is the new man, new humanity, the second Adam, a new creation, a new kind of humanity, glorified, spiritual, immortal, heavenly. The first humanity is earthly, the second humanity is heavenly. The first man out of the earth, the second man out of heaven. The second man being the second Adam, the resurrected Jesus. Pretty plain, basic reading comprehension. All you have to do is read the context and use your head a tiny bit and see that this verse has nothing to do with anyone coming down out of heaven to assume a human nature and walk on earth for 30 years. But such are Trinitarian claims. When you investigate them, you will always find them to be false. Another thing I want to point out here to people, because I've seen this happen a lot, is that people will be talking about Jesus when he walked on earth, before he was crucified and resurrected. And they'll talk about him before he was crucified as if he's the second Adam and last Adam. That's not right. Jesus is not the second and new man, new Adam, until he's raised from the dead. That's when his body was glorified and he became a new creation, a new kind of humanity, an immortal, glorified humanity, as opposed to his old mortal humanity. That's why he died and was dead. He was immortal. You can't crucify Jesus anymore because he's the second Adam now, which means a new creation, a new kind of humanity, an immortal humanity. So please keep that in mind. A lot of people are mucking that up. This is only applicable to the risen Christ. Okay? And as I said before, Trinitarians have, I have never counted, but 2, 3 dozen or more of claims like this, which are extremely lame. And they're very, very easy to disprove. But you can tell that when they present them, they really think they got something. And it's very unfortunate they don't do their homework. And this is not true of all Trinitarians, but there's quite a few that do this type of thing. And they don't do their homework and think about what they're reading and look at the context, etc., etc. When you do your homework, just a little bit most of the time, and you read the context, you find out these claims are false just so quickly. And this is just one, of many where they're doing stuff like this. So hopefully we can talk about several of those in the future, if I can get around to it. May God bless you.